Hello everyone. In this video I will be explaining how to use the pivot points indicator. The first thing we do is hop onto this tab here and type in pivot points. And the standard one is the one we want to use. If you want to play around with any of the pivot point indicators that were created by users of Tradingview, feel free to try that out. For the purpose of this tutorial I will be using standard. So now we see the traditional view appearing on our screen. All right, let's go into the settings and get a little bit more in-depth information. For the sake of this tutorial, I want to switch the P over to black. That's the beginning part of my pivot before I go into my S1s and R1s and so on. They just label S for support, R for resistance. Okay. Traditional, it's a very basic equation. It takes the high and the low and the close of the previous day and divides it by 3, and then you get your pivot levels for the following day or following session, whichever time frame you like to go on. If you do the daily, the weekly, that's more or less how you calculate it based on the high, the low, and the close of that previous time frame. All right, so that's the traditional. Next, the Fibonacci. So this one is very straightforward. If we take our Fibonacci retracement tool and we go on the P all the way to the R3, that is how this is measured, right? So the R1 is actually the 32.8, the R2 is a 61.8, and the R3 is the 100% mark, right? And this works for both ways, going up and down, all right? That's very straightforward. You don't have to do any Fibonacci retracements. It does it automatically based on what that pivot level is. The next one is the Woodie. And the Woodie is pivot point that are made up of multiple key levels calculated from past price points in order to frame trades in a simplistic manner. The key levels include the pivot itself and multiple support and resistance levels. Typically up to 3, but this one gives us 4. Pardon me. Woodie is one that I'm not familiar with. I'm more familiar with Fibonacci, Camarilla, and the traditional. So if you find a way that you can utilize the Woodie if you want to, by all means. All right, the next one, what we're going to go is the classic. Classic and traditional are very, very similar to themselves, right? So if I'll switch to that one, you'll see that the levels are nearly the same. The difference is classic, it does a little bit of a larger spread the higher we go, all right? So if we even take a Fibonacci based on the classic and we go up to the 100% mark, right, you're going to notice that the levels aren't quite where you would want them to be on a Fibonacci retracement, and that's totally fine because this is based on a different type of equation. All right, classic isn't really used anyway within trading circles. It's, you know, the ones that more likely are going to be used is the Fibonacci, the DeMark, which is utilized more for commodities and equity. And it's calculated based on high, low, and closing prices of previous trading sessions. You know, very similar to the rest of the type of inputs. The only difference is this one only has, as you notice, one resistance and one support for the entire day. Right? That's the big difference between the other ones and DM. And finally, we have Camarilla. Camarilla is much tighter as far as support and resistance levels go. And for short-term swing trades or scalps, this is pretty much preferred. But it's up to you however you want to utilize the pivot points themselves. The last thing would be the time frame. So right now it's set on auto. If we go on daily, you're going to see that within the daily range what the actual pivot points are. If we go weekly, you know, that's the bars that we had previously, monthly, etc. Right? That's how it's going to be set up throughout the chart that you pick. So I prefer daily. I want to see what's going on within the day itself to know where I want to enter and exit trades. And that concludes the tutorial. Hope it was beneficial. Subscribe and like the video for more. Thank you very much.